Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I'm a second career registered nurse with extensive hospice and palliative care experience, and also an end-of-life doula working through certification. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. This is a non-judgmental channel where we discuss death and dying and other end-of-life topics. I'll have video discussions for my fellow hospice nurses, for my fellow end-of-life care practitioners, whether they be doulas or social workers or chaplains, as well as caregivers, family members, patients, and those who are interested in the topic of chronic illnesses that become terminal. If that's something that you like and you're interested in, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell below. And if you like these types of discussions, please do like, as that does help the YouTube algorithm. Today's discussion is going to be for my fellow end-of-life professionals, specifically end-of-life doulas. Um, it's been coming up more and more for hospice nurses like myself. I wonder, should I become an end-of-life doula? I don't like the direction that hospice is heading or something related to that effect. And so we're going to delve into where am I at in my current journey. And hopefully, if you're on this journey too or considering it, I could provide some words of wisdom and encouragement with the understanding I don't know it all. I don't mind being corrected. This is a non-judgmental channel. And I love sharing and exploring and just helping others as I'm able. So before we go into today's topic, I do want to take a moment to ask you what I ask myself at least once a day, if not several. What are you grateful for? I strongly believe that by having a strong faith, by working through who do I need to forgive, and by asking what am I grateful for, that we build resilience. Now, not all of the people who come here to see what I have to say or hear what I have to say has faith, or to me, it's faith, not a religion, but it's like, I don't need that. And again, non-judgmental channel, and I'm not trying to proselytize. And not everybody's in a position where they could forgive. So I try to focus on the one thing that everybody should be able to do, even if it's a tiny step forward, and that's what are you grateful for? So as we look at what am I grateful for since we last aired, is I did get my print copy, my author copy of Crucial End-of-Life Conversations. This is to help any type of end-of-life professional, but it's specifically written for doulas. How do I have those hard conversations? I just, as when I was going through this evening, this gives you an example. There's artwork at the beginning of every chapter that's applicable. Chapter 10 is dealing with palliative care discussions. Chapter 11, hospice discussions. And where that comes into play, by the way, is this coming week, I just started as a part-time instructor for the International Dual Life Movement, IDLM. And I've helped the management team come up with a year, maybe just slightly over a year's worth of continuing education ideas. I've already developed courses 1 and 2, or I should say class 1 and 2. These are individual classes. The first one is Hospice Continuing Educability. The next one up is taking a deep dive into dementia and how do you know when to involve palliative and hospice care. I do want to have one specifically on palliative care. One of the benefits for being an IDLM, International Dual Life Movement, is you get free continuing education for as long as you want it. None of the students are charged for any of the continuing education classes. And on top of that, if you pay for one class, you could audit that class over and over again. Why would you want to audit a class over and over again? Because unlike many other schools out there that create content and don't update it on any regular basis, IDLM almost every semester has something brand new. So this coming August, even though I'm now a part-time instructor, I'm paying to take Pam Carter's through IDLM Advanced Life Planning course because I will be offering advanced care planning, and I'm going to be offering it now before I take the course. I have enough to feel comfortable and be a little bit dangerous, and I'll be better at it when I take the course. But students get that course at a discount, and the course that she's having August 12th through October 16th is fresh compared to the previous year. Includes bonus and other items that are brand new for 2025 that didn't exist in 2024. And anyone who previously took the class gets to audit it for free. Wow. So I'm grateful for that. I'm not saying this to, oh, I'm trying to advertise for IDLM, but I'm grateful for what they do because I don't always, I don't know how to word things. There are certain topics and certain areas I'm not a fan of from a personal point, but an overall basis, well done for Anna Adams, Pam Carter, uh, Robin Silver, Alexis, and the other. And I may be missing names of the people that are out there that are upper in the upper echelon who've been helping out much more than I have. But getting on to today's topic, and this hits home to me for two reasons. I participate in a number of end of life groups, both on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And yesterday evening, I I was fighting back both tears and anger at the same time. Have you ever had something where you know something is just wrong, and so you're angry about it, but you're also your heart, you're connecting with the person going through this, even though you're not in their shoes? So here, an individual posted anonymously saying that they are an experienced nurse, but they're not a hospice nurse, and their father is dying in the hospital, and he wants to get his father home, and his father lives in an extremely remote area of the United States. And the person posting this knows his dad and knows where his dad lives. And his health literacy is enough to know who and who cannot get there. That's part of the anger. The son knew the situation, and he's begging for help in a polite and professional way. And I might be using the word begging a little bit too strong, saying, could I please have a crash course on hospice because I want to get my dad home to die at home? I'm pausing because there's part of me that is still outraged over the answers. You can't do that. You're not a hospice nurse. And it says to be a hospice provider. And I'm like thinking to myself, what is happening? What happened to compassion and empathy? And what happened to MacGyver? Like when I worked and I still consider myself a hospice nurse, even though I haven't done hospice nursing here in Kentucky. And I've shared that on the channel. Why? Because they only want 12-hour shifts or full time, and I'm part time. You want me for 24 hours, 3 times 8? I'm there. You want to do 3 10s? Let's discuss. But I'm not going to do 12s. I don't want to go down that rabbit trail for this discussion. But I remember how many times I and my teammates, this is not just Peter, would have to MacGyver, how do we make this work so that we're treating the entire family unit holistically for the best interest of the family unit, particularly the patient? But all it was, I shouldn't say all. There finally, I started posting, and then a handful of others started posting compassionately. But a number of them were like litigious through the roof. You can't do that. You're not a hospice nurse. You can't do that. It's not in the box. Don't call it hospice then. Use a different word. Don't put this son and the father in a box and say it can't be done at all. Come up with different labels. Maybe you're not calling it hospice and palliative care. Call it dying at home. Whether you involve a death doula or not, call it dying at home, and let's get this done. Now, I offered this person, I said, private message me. I will literally help for free. And I don't say that like, ooh, I'm rich. I'm not. But that's part of why I'm on my journey, and part of what I'll be showing you. This is the intro video. I'm going to be showing you some screen video of where I'm at in this process. But part of why my medium to long-term goal is to do a complete 501c3 is I want to get donations, because there are portions of my work that will be given for free, because I don't want anybody that's in a dark place that I can help not be able to receive help because they can't afford to pay. So I'm going, you know what? I cannot be this person's nurse, because there are, you do have to consider ethical, legal, and moral. So there were minor points made by these more litigious nurses, but I can give non-pharmacological, I can give non-medical advice. Anybody can. And you could have all the disclaimers in the world. And granted, we're in America, so sometimes that doesn't even matter. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do the right thing. And I'm not saying that to brag. I shared in this in a previous video. I'm a hospice companion volunteer for a local hospice provider. I was there for several hours at the time of this filming. You're going to probably see this video tomorrow, but I was there several hours, manning the front desk and the reception area. And then tomorrow, probably at the time you're seeing this video, I'm probably going to be on my way driving, where I'm going to be a companion volunteer for a very rural um, uh, home patient. And so I'm like, I can give you non-medical advice, non-pharmacological advice, and I can give you a recommendation to take to a doctor. I don't need, I am sorry. This gets into the volunteer companion. I met the family, the spouse and the patient last Tuesday. And the wife, the spouse was asking me a whole series of questions. No, I can't do wound care, which was kind of awkward because I can, but not as a volunteer. No, I cannot hold the patient while you provide wound care. That's still considered medical support. And she goes, Peter, if you happen to be here some evening and a medical crisis came, are you going to just say call? And I looked at I was with the social worker. I looked at the social worker. I said, I'm sorry. I know this is probably not what you're going to want me to say, but I need to be human. And my humanity is I'm going to do the right thing and I'll pay the price afterwards. I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to pay the price afterwards. Because that person matters. You who are watching this matters. And so, number one, for this video, I'm like, we need to have a different trajectory for how we help people die at home. And that's something that I strongly believe end of life doulas are there to do. Now, in my case, I can go and say, this is between you and me. This is what we would typically get a prescription for. I can't write it. Please ask the doctor to get it. And as I share what I'm about to share, I want to go over as briefly as I can. Please bear with me. When my father-in-law was dying after he received a booster of a product you're not supposed to mention, so I'll just leave it at that. And he's in the emergency room and he's dying. And he didn't qualify for GIP because at the time of the evaluation, he was not having uncontrolled symptoms. But the moment the nurse left, he started having them. No medications on board whatsoever. So I'm not the nurse. I went to the ER nurse These are my recommendations. Ear nurse took him to the palliative care doctor, who came in and thanked me. At no point did somebody scold me. Peter, you're not the hospice nurse. It was, thank you, we'll get it done. And that's what it needs to be as we care for. These are human beings. We have to get out of the mindset of we treat our dogs and our cats better. Because if we start doing we treat our fellow human beings better years in advance, we're not going to have the push for medical aid and dying that we do now. And we're not going to have this, we're going to be in a different society if we start thinking, let's be kind and let's find a way to make this work. So that was number one. Number two, in the one forum, I'm seeing more and more hospice nurses, both LPNs and RNs, saying, I wonder what it's like to be an end-of-life doula. And some of them, I was having a conversation with one on LinkedIn. The person who asked the question happened to be on Facebook, but I had a separate conversation with a nurse on LinkedIn, saying, she was a hospice nurse for many number of years. She does also live in Kentucky, but she injured herself and now she's hospice. It's a way to stay in the field, and to me, it's a way to be more in touch than the nurses that, due to regulations and push by for-profit mergers and acquisitions and whatnot, to get in and out. So I do believe the end-of-life doula is the way to go, and you could actually do both. My mid to long-term battle plan is both. I'm making friends with medical professionals, and it might be, I don't plan on starting my own hospice agency, but if push comes to shove, and it's a matter of, like, I'll find out what laws I have to have the T's crossed and the I's dotted, that I can say, it's not an agency. May not be billing Medicare, but I'm going to have the relationships in place that I can get the orders and do it legally, ethically, and morally, because I want the people in Madison County, Kentucky, not to deal with the BS that's out there. So before I go and show some of the screens in terms of the tools I'm using and some of the progress that I've been making on my journey, I do want to mention a very, 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 to my critical area to my heart. So one of the very reasons I wrote this book, Becoming a Death Doula, Foundations in Practice, that's book one. Book two, Business Growth. And if you want one book combined set, I have an 8.5 by 11 combined set. So one of the reasons I wrote those books, and I started writing the Bridges to Eternity series, and I don't want to name names because the intent is not to diss schools, but there is one school in particular that I struggle a lot, because the owner, while having a wonderful history, compares the cost of their school to the cost of getting an RN. Aside from a horrible apples to orange comparison, the RN, every school, if you want to go for your National Board of Nursing, every school must be accredited. And the National Board is a governing body. So you have two separate layers that are working together to ensure that whoever is receiving care from that registered nurse has a minimum foundation. A minimum foundation. There is no such thing for doulas. None. For end-of-life doulas, when I graduate, I'm going to be graduating from IDLM in mid to late July. My last class is July 16th. I don't know if graduation's that week or the week after, but that's a graduation certificate. It's like getting a high school diploma. Now, the catch here, even comparing it to a high school diploma, is not even saying a high school diploma is still an apples to orange comparison, because the Department of Education, which I know that's its own story, existing, not existing, each state has standards for what you need to graduate. There are zero standards for what needs to be taught to become a certified doula. Zero standards. I cannot stress that enough. Because the consumers out there, the patients and families that are asking to their doulas, are you certified? They really don't know what they're asking for, because they're comparing it to a CPA. certified public accountant, or a CNA, or an RN or LPN. No, the school might have been a wonderful school 10 years ago, but may not be up to date. The knowledge level may not be up to date. I've heard horror stories through IDLM where an infant died and was kept in the home for 5 to 7 days. No one called. No one. No one. No one called. And there are hospice agencies complaining that the doulas are providing wrong information to the families. I'm not saying that to scare you from going on this journey. I'm sharing this to go down this journey with your eyes wide open. Go to the National End of Life Doula Association, NEDA, NEDA. They are not a governing body, they're not an accrediting body, but they're the only independent body that doesn't have a school associated with it. You can get a proficiency badge through them, but they don't have their own school. So they're the least biased as you head down this journey. I'm not saying you have to go to IDLM. I'm not saying you have to go to one or another, but do your homework. And for those of you who are like, gee, I can't afford any of these courses, that's where, get this book or not, go to NEDA, pay $50, wait 72 hours minimum or about, verify after 72 hours you're indeed a member, then pay $115 to be able to take the proficiency badge. They have an online study guide. Study on your own, take the test, pass. You're now certified for $165. You cannot get any less expensive. And then if you throw on, gee, you buy one of the books, you're still under $200 for the whole thing. And on top of that, let's say you don't buy the book at all. I am weird, and hopefully in a good way, weird, quirky. Reach out to me and ask me questions. To the degree that I can help you freely, I will. And to give you one example of that, and then we'll go on to the video. I shared with you last episode, but this is just to reiterate. I had a hospice executive ask me a whole series of questions via LinkedIn messages. How do you know when to break the chapters? What font do you use? Margins and so on. And I am freely answering question after question. I'm pointing to free links on Amazon. I'm not trying to sell a single thing. And the ending thing is, he goes, how much would you charge me to take over this and format it, proofread it, format it, and get it ready for publication? I don't advertise that, so I said, how about I keep track of my time and I'll let you know. And I can understand why he did what he did, but like that makes me nervous. He told me I was quoted from this range to that range. And again, since I've never done this for anyone else, I've done it for 50 some books of my own. So I believe I'm good at it. Believe, my opinion only. So I gave him a quote that was just slightly, and I ever do mean slightly, above his lowest quote. He ended up sending me, I did a video very similar to this that you're going to see with my screens. That was 11 minutes. Here's the direction I'm heading. You're okay with it? Yes. And then as I'm going through and sharing, giving him updates, he said, Peter, you went so far above and beyond. He ended up tripling, and I do mean tripling 3 times what I quoted him, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. I share that for 2 reasons. One, it is an area that I'm grateful for. But number two, as you're out there, don't be afraid to stretch your comfort zone. And then 3, to also stress that, you know, I'm willing to help you to a certain degree. And I was still willing to help him a little bit more. But before I go too much further, let's get in. I'm gonna go in to show you some of my screens for what I'm using, where you're gonna see Todoist for how I keep track of what to do next. I'm going to go over my Google profile, talking about telephone numbers for your business. I'm going to go over the transformations I've been doing at compassioncrossing.info. I'm going to be going over Canva, and then we'll come back for an outro. So thank you for that. So what you're going to be seeing over the next several minutes, next several screens, are tools I've been using to help me on my journey, both as a registered nurse as well as an end-of-life doula. I've been a long-term user of Todoist, TODOIST.com. I do have the paid version, which just has a lot more free features than the free version. I can have unlimited projects, more with color coding and so on and so forth. So, here I'm keeping track as I'm doing research for the 501(c)(3), as I'm working through my own startup, and with my own business, Compassion Crossing LLC, which is a Kentucky LLC. I am doing a combination of end-of-life doula and RN concierge services. So under the RN concierge umbrella, I'm doing staff development. That's part of what I'm doing on Wednesday, July 2nd. With a local healthcare organization, I'm doing staff training as it relates to hospice and palliative care, disease processes, and anticipatory grief, a whole bunch of topics wrapped into a 45-minute presentation, 15 minutes of Q&A for a total of 60 minutes, done 2 times in a row. And then the doula part is where I'm going to be advanced uh, care planning in general, helping families decide between hospice and palliative care, vigil planning, and so on and so forth. But this is where I'm keeping track of, like, what do I need to do when. If you don't see any due date on it, it's something that I'm just not there yet. I am looking at both the Berea and the Madison County Chambers of Commerce. Haven't made a decision yet. Same way with the Berea Arts Council, because from a point of view, doulas are just as holistic as hospice nurses, as well as other holistic nurses. It's an art form. So I don't know if play is the right word, but I'm playing around with the idea that, maybe this can be a type of art. And Aspen, if you're watching this, because Aspen's one of my fellow friends through International Dual Life Movement. I love the thought process. I don't even want to say it, Aspen, because it might be, if this is your unique idea, I don't want to steal your thunder, but he had a unique idea, at least I think it is. It's like, wow. Um, so before I ramble, but here's an example where this coming Friday, I'm going to be working on the business and marketing plan. Some of this has been ongoing anyway, for what you're going to see in a few moments as we look through some of the other screens. But I want to dig deeper. Part of this is through my own book, The Business Growth Book, but part of this is also from International Dual Life Movement. So I know I bring up IDLM a lot, but there's a reason why. They are the most complete program that I found out there. It's not just here, let me teach you about death and dying, but let me teach you about pediatric death and dying. Let me teach you about death and dying for different types of disease processes. Let's talk about grief. Let's talk about how to run your business. They have an entire course that if you sign up for their doula course, you get the Business 101 course included. So this is an entire course that a lot of other schools would charge separately for. They included as part of it. And as part of their doula course, you get a 6-month free trial of Doulato, which is software specifically for end-of-life doulas. Now, I, I'm not sure if it'll be this Wednesday or this Friday or in the next few weeks, but in the not too distant future, probably before the end of July, if all goes well, I will be doing a walkthrough of Doulato for you who are interested. And I want to run my doula business. Is there a way that I could do this more electronically and less pen and paper, or combine them both? So Doulato has a lot of those features. I need more time because I literally just set up my account yesterday. But this is where, as I get older, I learn how to kick in my superpower of, like, autism can be horrible in what, regardless of where you're at on the spectrum, as well as being an INFJ. But but if you're not under certain stressors, you can actually turn on, so to speak, the light bulbs go off like crazy, and like I feel so good about that, versus the panic attacks that I don't feel good about. But here, here I am going through, getting this stuff ready. I will be doing a press release. IDMLM, by the way, gives a sample press release and educations on that. I cannot emphasize enough a very thorough program. I cannot also stress I am biased. I'm a student, and I just started becoming a part-time instructor this coming Thursday. I'm going to be teaching students about hospice eligibility requirements for doulas, a 1 hour continuing education class that's free to IDLM students, regardless of whenever they graduated. Developing the customer packet, everything from the intake form. Today, I was doing research for what are Kentucky specific um, rights that they need. And I encourage you, if you're watching this, I'm going to be a doula in your state. Please look up the laws in your state. Don't look under doula laws because they may not be that far along in the process, but look up funeral laws. You use broader terms. Use broader terms. So funeral laws, patient rights law, ombudsman's law, look broader, ask broader questions. um, I'm smiling over the safety review form. um, we had a discussion on Wednesdays. I think it was either Monday or I think it was Wednesday night's class, that there's a CDC has a safety assessment form. Alzheimer's has two of them. Wouldn't it be nice to have one combined safety form? And so Anna Adams, Michelle Stewart, and myself, we'll work and combine all three into one form. And I think it's a success. I'm still waiting for final feedback as a final look through. And this is something that I if I feel comfortable about it, I may be sharing that to others because I participated in development thereof. Uh, but that's a form that we use internally. So when you're going into a patient's home, and you could use this in facilities in terms of, because the patient's room might have safety risks that the facility is not addressing. This is an internal document that we doulas, end of life professionals, would use so that we're aware of what the safety risks are to us, anyone else coming in the home. It doesn't have to be the family member, it could be a friend visiting, and the patient themselves. Um, a liaison form, which gives us the right to advocate. Care plan form, that's another internal document, what to expect from us, and that contractual agreement that is so critically important. I did start, I'm trialing out Calendly. Um, I may go back to TidyCal because I think it's anywhere from $29 to $36 lifetime versus Calendly, which is a monthly fee. And then I also have in here part of why I like to do this is I could set out, timelines out in the future and say, hey, this is time sensitive. So let me now switch gears in terms of the business process. I now am have Google profile set up. And I wish I had a choice as to what photos they showed. That's an older photo of mine. I had my bottom teeth then, or at least I still have some bottom teeth, but I had more. But you can go in and set up a Google profile, set in office hours. This is subject to change if you're watching this, by the way. It's something I'm working through. You get to give photos. This is where I wish they'd pick the cover photo versus my photo. But it also, in terms of process, and I'll get to show you more when I get to Canva. But I did a final revision. I'm hoping it's final of the logo that I'm more happy with compared to previous iterations. But one of the things that you're going to see here is that I'm so happy. I'm thankful for I may be missing names. I'm thankful for Anna Adams at IDLM, for my wife for Ted, um, and some of the people at my men's group saying, you may want to consider getting an 859 number. And God is so beautifully good. Uh, when I was investigating, and part of having this discussion is you're a solopreneur, you're a one-person operation, maybe a two-person operation. How do you get a business number? And IDLM has their own type of social media group. It's called the Movement, and it's a wonderful collective of past graduates, current students. And I think you can join even if you're not a student. And somebody mentioned there's an app out there called Sideline, the Sideline app, where you can get a second telephone number and have it ring to your phone and do text messages. And it's 14 something a month if you want to subscribe after a 7-day trial. So I did get that, and I got an 859 number to try, but the 859 number, while it was the Lexington area, I couldn't fine tune it to Madison County. While I am willing, just if you're watching this and you're in Lexington, I am willing to go outside of Madison County on a case by case basis. It really depends on what your needs are, because I want to give, on a phrase, everyone I serve, I want to exceed your expectations, and I give it all. I give everything I have when I'm taking on anything. It's if I'm not taking you on, you get zero. But if I'm taking you on, you get 100% of me. That's like this hospice executive is like he didn't expect what he was getting, and I wasn't trying. Like I told him in the very beginning when he was going over, I said this is a fixed fee that I gave him, and when I did the 11-minute video, I said this is included. Everything is included in this, and it was like I'd rather have those cases where they're so ecstatic. So the only way I can do that is by having an initial agreement what I'm comfortable with. So right now, what I'm comfortable with, and I know I can pretty much, I don't know if I want to use the word guarantee, but I can pretty much say I can serve anyone in Madison County. Outside of that, I'm willing to take a look at it. But when I was going with Sideline, it was giving me a number that was in Lexington. And then I tried Zoom. I'm pausing because I like speaking positively when I can. Let's just say the Zoom phone didn't work. I got an 859 number. Similarly, it was Lexington, which again, nothing is not about Lexington. This is not about Lexington. The 452 happens to be a Madison County exchange. I'm happy. But the issue went with Zoom. I'm having my wife call me, and she's inside the house and I'm outside the house. It shows her ringing on the phone. I pick up. Hello, 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 hello. I head back in. Her phone's still ringing to my phone, even though I picked up. It doesn't go to voicemail. Then I have her call me while I'm right there. Then it does connect, and I walk outside halfway our backyard, and calls breaking up, and you can hear noticeable. And we're talking less than a football field. If it's that horrible, and that was my experience, I'm not saying you'd have the same experience. Maybe it's through the carrier. But Anna, I'm getting ready to give the personal phone that I've had for probably 2 decades. I still get asked, are you in Birdsboro? No, that was when that number was associated with a wider area than Birdsboro, which I never lived in, by the way. Uh, but I'm like, I'm going to use my personal number, and Adams and Pam Carter talked about some of them do this. And, somebody mentioned, they had the same number for 20 years. So I'm like, why not? I'm going to cave in. And not that it's bad. But Anna Adams said, have you thought about a second number through your carrier? Now, she uses T-Mobile for this, and it was like for T-Mobile, she said it's like 10 extra dollars. And Laura and I use US Mobile. Uh, I like it for a number of reasons. I'm not here to sell you on it. but we have like the pull plan where we can have, we have two numbers pulled for 28 bucks. $28 a month for it's not unlimited. It's unlimited voice, unlimited text. The data is 10 gigabytes, which for most months is the two of us use less than a gig most months. It's only when my fiber in the house is down that we've had to go and add another 10 gig, sometimes within days, because sometimes it takes them a while to get the fiber repaired. But here I go and I look. I can get a second number from US Mobile for $8 to the pool. So it goes from $28 a month to 36. And by the way, if you're thinking of this, critical, check if your phone can handle two electronic SIMs, two electronic SIM cards. They have a way that most carriers have a way that you go to your about section of your phone. You look at that for that. There's an IEMI. Don't quote me on the way it goes with the sequence, but you put in the number, it'll say whether it could work or not. But check that first before you pay. But anyway, I went in and I got this, and you know what? I'm biting the bullet. I'm biting the bullet. Um, I was telling, if you've been watching my YouTube series for a while, I've been sharing with almost all of you and my family and my friends. I'm waiting until I'm certified, until I'm practicing as a doula, even though I have been practicing as a doula for free virtually for a year and a half, approximately a year and a half. And I said I'm going to wait till I'm certified. But as this past weekend, I'm getting ready for this local healthcare institution that I'm going to be doing two sessions on Wednesday, July 2nd. And you know what? Why am I waiting? I write books about hospice care to train my fellow hospice nurses. I've trained in person my fellow hospice nurses. This Thursday, I'm going to be teaching a continuing education class, and then next week, not next week, oh my word, next month, it might, right now we're targeting July, but it might be August. We're planning on a ticketed event where I created a course, a CE course. There's not nursing continuing education credits, being crystal transparent. Teresa, I do want to hit you up, Teresa Sanderson, one of these days on becoming a CE provider, either through you or through probably the Florida Board of Nursing. You don't have to use Kentucky or the state that you're in. There's fine print with that, but that's for another episode. But these doula CE classes are not, you don't get CE credits per se, but like IDLM does require their doulas to have 12, I think it's 12 CE credits. I don't want to quote whether it's every year, every 2 years, but it's free classes, um, just to help make sure that everybody's up to date so that they're not giving out bad information. So, but anyway, I'm like, why am I waiting? Why am I waiting? I just finished up a book where, pardon me, do I have the screen set that you can, yeah, I have the screen, sorry. I just completed a book on end of life conversations the other week. I'm teaching this, I can do this. Why am I waiting? Pull the plug, get out there. And so I'm going to business breakfast and getting out there in community. And this coming Thursday evening before the CE class, Thursday is going to be a roller coaster day. But I'm going, the Small Business Chamber of Commerce is having a grant writing class. So I'm going to that 2-hour class because I want to have a 501c3 medium to long-term goals. And as you're going down this journey, have goals, dream big, write things down, but don't let anything hold you back. Moving forward, I've been making changes to compassioncrossing.info. So originally, when you first years ago, this site started back like I think 2020. Years ago, you come to the homepage and it would literally go to the articles. And then knowing that this was coming, I started breaking this apart, so to speak. So I have on, and this is subject to change, but I have on, this is what we're doing. Then I go on about the articles. Then I go on, hey, I write books too. And I'm grateful to Dynamic Net Inc., Jeffrey Klonsky out of Texas. Actually, founded as part of my first career. I founded Dynamic Net Inc. and ran it for 18 years before selling it to Jeffrey. But Jeffrey's been kind enough to work with me as everything's. We're now over 400 articles on Compassion Crossing in terms of the articles that are out there, going over like how much longer, end of life nutrition. There's a lot of meat these are free articles to help anyone that's reading them. And so I'm trying to branch out. Like those are still there. They're not being taken away. They're ad free. One of the many reasons I use associate links, even with my own books, is all the associate money goes towards paying for the hosting fees. Um, and so that every penny helps keep this ad free. Um, and I know somebody might say, well, you have associate links, there's ads at the very bottom of the articles, and you can skip them. Thank you, and I'm going to move on. But so here's where I'm going in and tying into that I'm a life transition support guide. And these go into my offerings for right now. And with that, so that you're aware, because you might be asking yourself very similar questions that I'm asking, is if I put I'm debating, do I put my calendar here to have set up those meetings? Do I list my phone number so I can get more people captured? But here's my thoughts. Please comment below. It's non-judgmental. Um, but here's my thoughts. The internet's international. Just the other day, my website, somebody tried to attack. Uh, I'd have to go look what country it was from, but over 92,000 attempts to break in. They didn't get in. Um, but I don't want to deal with people that are trying to take advantage of me in terms of my wanting to serve others. So this is where I'm looking into where Calendly does have a paid option where you can ask, you cannot, I have to see if there's a way to force feed the data, i.e. This is, I'm going to probably go to my programming me of years ago. There has to be a way to detect country of origin and tell Calendly, only show the form to if they happen to be in the United States, and maybe even take it as far as they have a Kentucky IP address. I have to look at that. I'm still working through that. By the way, if I figure that out and you come in down the road and you're seeing that and you want to come and say, Peter, what did you end up doing? Ask, ask. If I could share it freely with you, I'm going to share it freely with you. For me, not everything is about the money. And I put that out there because I do know I have some people that when they ask certain questions, I'll point them to a book as if I want to sell them a book. And part of me does, but part of me don't care. I don't care. I'd like you to, but I'm still trying to help. And the reason I'm sharing the book is because I believe the book would help. But keeping things moving, because I don't have a clock on this video. I'm trying different software out as I'm going. But so I've been working through advertising for services, and then talking about Facebook. This is not my personal Facebook page, but I have Compassion Crossing KY for Kentucky. And came up. This has been evolving. Last week it was a different image, but I'm trying to make things as clean and as compassionate, empathetic. What I believe is part of me. I'm not that artistic, but I'm trying to see what I can make flow. And going over and on here, I'm still, do I put my phone number on? I think on here in Yelp, I think it wants your address to put in your phone number. And this is not a retail business. This is out of my home. I still have to think of my wife and puppy's privacy, not that they answer the door. But this is out there. I have LinkedIn that's a very similar, I have a LinkedIn Compassion Crossing page. So then Canva. This is my I cannot speak as highly as through the roof. Canva. I have the pro version. I don't have affiliate links. I'm not trying to sell you Canva. But to me, if you are out there creating marketing material or you're a content creator, uh, Canva has so many applications. So I went in and I just shared that, I ended up redoing my logo. So if you may not, and I don't, not asking anyone to remember what I used last week versus the month before. This is me, my thing type of situation. But when I was looking at the Compassion Crossing logo at different print material, it almost looked like a football shape for the logo coming around the Compassion Crossing, merging with the Guiding Life Journey with Care. So I was trying different fonts and different angles to try to get it so that it was more as circular as possible. Um, and then I was fooling around with a lot as to, do I want that at a different position for the butterfly? So I ended up changing that. I did end up coming up with my business card, and I ordered business cards that I'm hoping will be here next week in time so that when I go to that healthcare organization, I've been in discussions with one of the administrative members. They want me, if I could bring my MacBook to go on a TV screen. And I am working on Plan B. But I went in and this is a business card. And nice thing about Canva, I can have a QR code that looks to compassioncrossing.info and you get to see what your card's going to look like. Now I ended up going with the rounded corners. So you get to see, here's what it's going to look like. Now that's not 100% the same as in your hand, but why not give it a try? Again, I'm no longer walking in fear or doubt. I can do this, and I'm walking in the direction of that going. With the understanding, and I'm being as transparent as possible with you, I'm probably going to fall flat on my face a number of times. I may cry a number of times. I may ask myself why a number of times. But part of being resilient is picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and asking what next. So getting back into Canva, here, Google profile for Compassion Crossing. Um, Fresh Learn's LMS system out there. Let me make something for that. This is one of the social media parts that I'm a part of. Let me make that. And as a plug for Marie, and she has the easiest last name that's probably easy for everyone else but me. But she runs a program for nurses, LPNs, RNs, who want to learn how to work remotely from home, whether it be utilization management, triage, diabetic coaching. And she actually features as a requirement my Nurse's Guide to Motivational Interviewing. So this is a way for me to advertise the books and just, hey, I'm so, like, I never anticipated that happening in my entire life. But Canva, I don't know if I'm going to use a brochure. We've been having discussions on and off with the movement, the pros and cons of brochures. The CE course that I'm going to be teaching, I do my presentations here. Thumbnails. And when I helped the one gentleman for their book, I ended up doing their book cover for them. So this is part of the tools, and where we're ending, and then there'll be an outro, is if you are not an end of life doula, or let's say you're on the journey to become one, and for whatever reason you're struggling, and especially if you've not even started, because if you're not started, you're round zero. You didn't have a chance to mess. And when I say mess up, I don't mean mess up, you're done, you can't do this anymore, but you haven't made a mistake. But if you're on the journey to become a doula and you're getting frustrated as to, I don't know what to do next, I cannot encourage everyone that I talk to, go to the National End of Life Doula Alliance, NEDA, NEDA. I'm going to be putting in the description in the link on YouTube, but go there. They go over their mission, how to find training, the doula model of care, scope of practice. This is there's no governing body, there's no accrediting body, but this is the only independent site I found that doesn't seem to have biases. They're not tied to a school, and their goal is that for everybody out there to do the best that they can. And so what they provide is, let's say, I don't know how to share this other than to share my own story. Back in late March, early April, I was following an individual who was a very worthwhile individual. They've contributed so much to society. They are a registered nurse who went down this journey, and they offer so much. So on that side, I applaud them through the roof. And I cannot ever hope to achieve probably 1/10 of what they've done. But I have an issue when it comes to, I'm not sure how to word this, 4-hour webinar, it's free, plus 3 hours of wonderful information, huge plus, 1 hour of selling that was the equivalent of a used car salesman. And I'm not trying to knock, it's just literally, it was so hard. There were people in the chat saying, like, they were sharing their emotions in the chat, not against the presenter, but like, I would have to second, like, I feel called to this, I feel called to this, but I'd have to mortgage my house, I'd have to get a second mortgage, I feel called. And I'm going, this is horrible. Like, for me as a registered nurse, I'm being blunt, I'm being very transparent. I was tempted to write my own certificate. Peter certified by Compassion Crossing LLC, and I'd have Peter Abraham, I'm certified. Because they don't ask you who certified you. And is it within my authority to certify myself? That may sound weird, but I can, because that's how much the certificate is worth. It's literally a piece of paper that has minimal value. And I'm not trying to knock schools. No governing body, no accrediting body, no way to authenticate good versus bad. The least that you need to know. It doesn't mean what consumers think it means. And I'm here going, oh my word, these people are near tears. This is on Zoom. You can see their body language. They are heartbroken. They are heartbroken. What can I do? So I'm in the chat, and I'm not knocking the school. I'm not knocking the school. I said, if you really feel called, and this is before I had a single of the Bridges of Eternity books written. I did not have a single book written for doulas. But I'm in the chat. Come to NEDA, pay $50. Wait until you're listed. They tell you that as part, if you want to go to the proficiency badge, they'll tell you, please wait 72 hours. Then you pay $115 to take their proficiency badge. They have an online study guide. So pay $115, take the test. Granted, you have to pass. You pass. You're now certified for $165. And so I'm putting that to the people in the chat, saying, if this is your calling, here's a route to take. I wasn't saying anything bad about anyone. I literally got kicked out of the Zoom. Why? Because Maybe they thought I was harming their $2,997 course. If you sign up in the next 3 days, it's $2,997. And I'm not knocking the program. I'm knocking two things. One, please, for the love of whatever you hold dear, do not compare what you're charging to RN school. That is the most horrible comparison I have heard in my 62 years of life. RN school, accredited school, governing body for the boards. Your graduates have a piece of paper that you can literally rip up and throw in the garbage. And by the way, same with IDLM, and say the way with everything else, because it's just a graduation certificate. And yes, I'm passionate about it, and it ticks the living daylights out of me that anyone would say that their certificate matters more than another. It doesn't. And that's why I want anyone going down this route to understand, please do your homework. You don't have to buy my books. Come to NEDA. And I don't get anything from NEDA. I don't have an associate link. I don't get anything from NEDA. But if you need that certificate enough that you feel good, then get that proficiency badge and you're certified. Now I do believe in IDLM. Until that changes, I'm going to still talking about the benefits. Because IDLM, instead of $2,997, if you buy in the next 3 days, or if you buy before this weekend's over, and by the way, if you were to wait, what they're telling you, if you wait, it's $7,997. So if you wait, it's close to 8,000. And I've had Joe from Joy Care Management out of McKinney, Texas, tell me she saw a weekend school, one weekend, $10,000 to get certified. That's part of why I'm irritated. Because here, IDLM, most of their courses, I don't have their prices listed, so I'm going to give you a higher number than what it probably is. But I believe they're under 1,000. I think it might be 850. But if you go to their website, you could see. And if you take one course, you get to get discounts on other courses. So I'm getting the Pam Carter's Advanced Life Planning course that's August 12th through October 16th at a discounted price. And they're willing to work with you. So you're not having to get a mortgage. And yes, the piece of paper at the end, same, you can rip it up if you want to or frame it, do whatever you want because there's no governing body, no accrediting. And I can't speak it, and I want to be very clear. I'm not taking classes for this other person. I've not taken classes from other institutions. But I do know for IDLM from taking the classes, by talking to former students, by talking to my fellow classmates, they keep everything up to date and fresh, and their instructors are out there with their feet on the ground. And we're working on a methodology that there's no doula left behind. I talked about the driving factor for why this episode's taking place, but we don't want a doula left behind. So we're working through this. I don't want to speak too much about it now, but we're working through a process where doulas can have a way to get help from other doulas. So that if you're in a situation where no amount of training could have prepared you for, that you can call somebody and we'll work it out together. That's the International Doula Life Movement. So there's going to be an outro, and thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch today's episode. There are certain things that are very passionate to me, and that includes everyone should have the right to die with dignity and respect, hopefully at a place that they're choosing, accidents excluded, of course. And if you're interested in this journey of being a death doula, have questions, maybe there's something I said that you just don't understand, or maybe you don't even agree with, please comment in the area below. This is a non-judgmental channel. I believe we all grow by exploring one another's feelings and ideas. Thank you, take care, and God bless.